Okay, that's an intro to your lecture today. I'm going to pick up where I left off last day, but first I'm going to just review the concept of mean absolute value versus median frequency, because I've been getting some questions about lab number 3 and about these different terms. So mean absolute value, or MAV, reflects your motor unit recruitment. So the higher that mean absolute value from your EMG, the higher your motor unit recruitment. So you're recruiting more muscles. Median frequency, on the other hand, gives a rough estimate of your motor unit firing rate. It's usually used as a measure of fatigue. So when median frequency decreases, it means that those fast firing motor units are dropping out, and those would be your fast twitch motor units. So in lab number 3, there's data that's collected on mean absolute value and median frequency. And I think what is confusing people is that I actually have no questions in the lab about median frequency. So I used to in past years, but it seems like those questions ended up getting phased out, and I did not replace them with other median frequency questions. So median frequency is not part of any of your answers for the lab. So the answer, for example, numbers 1 and 2, you should be using the mean absolute values that are from the lab data set. So this is where I left off last day. It was this review of afferent versus efferent input. So just to give you a review of the definitions of these terms, afferent means anything going back to the central nervous system being your brain and the spinal cord, and efferent refers to traffic coming from your central nervous system, so coming from the brain and the spinal cord. So afferent is back to the brain and spinal cord, efferent is from the brain and spinal cord. So this first example, your eyes transmit a signal to your brain about the position of a soccer ball. That is information going from your receptors in your eyes to your central nervous system or your brain. So that would be afferent. Voluntary contraction of your biceps by recruitment of motor units in the spinal cord. That is done by information coming from your brain and your spinal cord to your muscles. So that is going to be away from the central nervous system. That is efferent. Golgi tendon organ is activated, sending inhibitory signal to the spinal cord. This is going from a receptor back to the central nervous system. That would be afferent. Vestibular or inner ear sensors sending a message to your brain to correct your balance. So these receptors in your ear are important for maintaining balance. And so this is another example of a signal being sent from receptors to your central nervous system. So this again would be afferent. And the last one here is a little bit tricky. It's reflex contraction of a muscle after spindle activation. So that reflex contraction of the muscle is going to be from a signal from the spinal cord or from the central nervous system to the muscle. So that's going to be efferent. But the spindle activation is going to involve afferent input to the spinal cord. So this is your full answer. Spindle activation is afferent, and then the signal from the spinal cord to the muscle is efferent.